So what's up to all my beautiful queens, divas of a more mature age? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel today. I am the Eva Monroe, and I am back with part 2 of what good wives don't talk about. Okay, I saw some things that I felt like I needed to come back and talk about. The first thing I want to say is if you disagree with me, I'm perfectly fine with that. I am not the type of person that feels like everyone who passes through my channel should agree with every single thing that I say. I always say we can agree to disagree in a very respectful manner in the comment section below. I stand by that 100%. But if you disagree with me, please make sure that you have something to disagree about. And please make sure that you have watched the video in its entirety and you understand, you can comprehend what it is that I'm speaking about. Okay, let's be respectful of each other here. There's nothing worse than someone reading the title of a video and then coming in and saying, you're full of you know what, lady. It makes me laugh, but it irritates me at the very same time. I'm not anti-wifery. I am a wife. I enjoy being a wife. I'm going to be a wife. Despite what the individual in the comment section said, you better watch out. You're going to be out on the streets or something along those lines. That is not my concern ever. Okay. I'm good with being a wife. I enjoy being a wife. I say this all the time. Like, I would never want to be out there again. However, I feel like the side of wifery that many women talk about is often the pleasant side of it or the extremely unpleasant side of it. And the extremely unpleasant side of it is often talked about by divorced women. Women who feel like, I was married, I hated it, I hated my life, I hated my husband, and so I like to speak about things in a very open and honest way. I like to talk about things that I've been through. I like to share those experiences. And as I said before, it's never meant to disrespect anyone who has gone through those experiences with me. But this is my truth. And sometimes I feel like, and it often does, help other women. Men ask for what they want, and they have the ability most of the time to get what it is that they want. And I want women to know that we don't have to suffer in silence. You should be vocal about what you want. You don't have to suffer in silence, because sometimes it's nothing more than a conversation that needs to be had. It's nothing more than some boundaries that need to be created, some rules that need to be set. That is it, right? So, in my comment section, someone said, women were put on this earth to serve men. To that I say, said no one ever since 1935. I am here to help you, okay? I am here to help you. And I wish people would stop this. This is a thing. It's funny to me how so many things in this world have changed, right? People are doing whatever the hell they want to be doing right now, biblical or not. But this is one thing that people never let go of. They always say, well, women are supposed to serve men. That's the police. That's their slogan, to protect and serve. Okay, that's a blurred line right there. That's for law enforcement. It's not for women. Okay, I want to talk about this this thing, this serve thing, this love thing, this respect thing, because when I ended my video, I talked about how men have to have the ability to emotionally show up for their wives. Sometimes that's what we need, right? And I spoke about before how when women walk away from marriages, it's because they feel unloved. When men walk away from marriages, it's because they don't feel respected. I'll link one of my favorite books ever in the description box below, that I feel like anyone who is considering marriage or anyone who is currently in a marriage, I feel like you should read this book, honestly. And so, was it Love and Marriage or Love and Respect. I will link the book in the description box below. I read this book a long time ago, but this book and nothing that I've read in this book has ever left my mind. And some things I still go back to this very day when there are some things that I'm trying to figure out about my husband, because men and women, we do function so different. Like, we are not the same. We're just not the same. And this is where things start to get a little shifty and shaky, and women start to get a little rattled and upset, because most women want to be their husband's equal, right? We all, women want to, I'm equal. I'm your equal. You're not, I'm not going to submit to you. I don't have to serve you because I'm your equal. And someone also said that human beings are not put on this earth to submit. We're not wired like that. We're not built like that. Well, we're probably the only species who misunderstand this thing, right? I said this, I don't like to talk about animals and people like in the same, because we're not the same, but sometimes there are some references that can be made. So I'm a watcher. I like to just sit back and watch, right? And we have two dogs. We have Jada and we have Django. They're male and female. Now, they're actually brother and sister, but they weren't born at the same time. We got one, and then 3 years later, we got the other one. We drove about 6-7 hours away to get them both, right? But they were born a couple years apart. So Jada is everything, okay? Jada is super dope. And people see the two of them sitting side by side, and everybody zones in on Jada. Like, she is just her gait, her stance, the way she looks when her ears are standing at attention. She's on top of everything. Jada's just dope, okay? Django is dopey. Nothing he does makes sense. We love them both. Everything he does is weird. He doesn't look exactly like Jada. He doesn't look bad. Now, he looks good as well, but he doesn't look exactly like Jada. He doesn't act like Jada. He doesn't follow commands and things like she does. He's just Django, right? One day I wanted to give Jada some food, right? Give her a piece of something I had. I wanted to give her a treat. And Django wasn't close to us, but he could see us, right? He wasn't far away either. And so I said, "Come here, Jada." And she came like she always does. She's a bad biatch, you know. And I dropped the food down right in front of her, and she stepped back. And Django got up from where he was. He walked over to us, and he grabbed the food, and he went back to where he was. And then she was looking at me like, "Now where's mine? Where's mine?" And I was like, "You crazy so-and-so. Are you serious right now?" So I didn't understand. I was like, now, when she has something, oftentimes he'll take it from her. You know, we give her a big ham bone or something. If they both have one, he takes his off, he buries it, he comes back, he gets hers from her, and he takes it and he buries that too. So I was going to feed them one day, and I filled both of the bowls, and I set both of the bowls down, and Jada was the first one there, and she backed away, and he came, and he chose which bowl he wanted. He started to eat from that bowl, and Jada went to the other bowl, which was on the other side of her. She went to the other bowl. And I said to myself, wow, she lets him eat first. He eats first, no matter what. Now, you don't have to tell me, "Oh, these are dogs." You know, I have a clear understanding about dogs and human beings, about the difference between dogs and human beings. But this is when I started to see, I said, as dumb as he is, you know, and she even has this more fierce look. She looks to be more powerful. If you didn't know from a distance, she would almost appear to be the male, right? She would appear to be the more dominant one. But she knows that she's not. She knows her place, right? We have chickens. They're the same way. No one we've never told her, hey, this is your big brother. You got to respect him. You let him eat first. No one has ever told her this. She's not been trained this way. She just knows and she gets it, right? She knows and she gets it. Okay. But again, I want to go back to the thing to where we have to be put in a position. We have to be allowed the place and the space to say, okay, you are the head of this household. Because a lot of men don't put themselves in a head of household position. They don't have head of household behavior. They don't do head of household things. They don't make head of household money. They don't put their foot down. I have an aunt, and she was my only married aunt when I was growing up. And she ran her husband in front of people. There was never any shame in her game. She would correct him in front of people. Now, when I was growing up, this was my definition of being a boss bitch, right? I get a husband, he gonna do what I say. I didn't understand what it was to emasculate a man. I didn't know what that was. I just thought she runs her house and I'm going to run my house the exact same way, right? But he allowed her to do that, right? And somebody has to run the show, right? Because where there's no order, there's chaos. So somebody has to step up to the plate. So if he doesn't step up to the plate, then automatically I'm going to step up to the plate. Even with my own husband, I used to say, hey, if you ain't going to take control of it, don't worry about it. I got it. I was notorious for saying, don't worry about it. I got it, because that's just, I get shit done. I have the ability to get things done. Okay. And so I had to learn how to just fall back 100%, completely fall back. And that was how my husband would see that you have no choice but to take control of the matter. You have no choice but to step up to the plate. You have no choice but to man up. Because like I said yesterday, I'm woman in a child. I don't know nothing about all of this type of stuff right here, right? I'm going to let you have it. Here goes the smoke. Okay. If you don't appreciate talking about intimacy, if you don't want to hear this, I would suggest you fast forward this video until I'm finished talking about this part. Maybe I will try to timestamp this when you can go on past to the part that interests you or that is pertaining to you. But I'm going to talk about intimacy, and I'm going to talk about it because this is like the number one thing that women ask me about and ask me to talk about. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you is I'm not going to go in depth. I'm not a sex therapist. I'm not any kind of therapist. I've just lived. I'm not going to go in depth on this platform. I will say that. But I will also say that if there are any women out there who are interested in talking about this in a more in-depth way, then we can talk about it in a more personal, private setting, right? Like maybe in a small Zoom group, or maybe I've just created a Facebook group. Maybe we can do it in a Facebook group or something like that. But I'm not going to sit on here and debate in the comment section with 50,000 people about intimacy. I'm not going to do that. Okay. But one thing I want women to know and understand, because this is the one thing, this is the one of the biggest things that a lot of women suffer in silence about, and it's not fair. Okay. It's not fair. And I know the fair only comes around once a year, but it's really not fair. You have to be open, honest, and upfront about what it is that you want. And when you have been open and honest and upfront about what it is that you want, if what you're receiving is not working for you, it's not doing it for you, and the person that professes to love you is not willing to make any changes, then that's a different story. But you have to be open about this thing right here, because let me tell you what happens, okay? What happens with this thing is when we're not being taken care of, we're not being satisfied the way that we feel like we need to be satisfied. Eventually what happens is, and I know this from experience, I'm not speaking because my friend Jenny down the street told me this, I'm speaking because I know this. What happens is we will begin to turn that part of ourselves off, especially if we love someone and we're committed and we're not willing to go step out here in the street with Raekwon. We will begin to turn that part of ourselves off, right? What that looks like to a man is rejection. And rejection to a man is that's that thing that pushes them in the other direction. That's that thing. Rejection is that thing that makes him say, my wife doesn't respect me because she doesn't take care of my needs. She rejects me. She doesn't like me. She doesn't appreciate me. Right? And so you have to be vocal about it. You cannot suffer in silence, because this sex, money, communication, these are the things that can break and end a marriage so quick and so fast. Now, I feel like there are so many wives out there who are just suffering in silence. As I said before, men ask for what they want. They ask for what they need, right? They just go for it, and when they don't get it, well, they know how to get taken care of now, don't they? Oftentimes, this is a very selfish area for them, especially, and because this is the number one individual that I get this question about is older men. Most of the time when women are asking me about intimacy issues, it is with older men. And the thing about that is, I don't believe that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But when you're dealing with a man who's 60, 70 years old, and he's been doing things a certain way for 50, 60, 70 years, and no woman, because we're often quiet about this, has ever stood up and say, hey, you don't satisfy me. You're very selfish. You think there's one way. You need to learn. You need to explore. Men need to learn about a woman's body. They need to learn how to take the time out to make sure that their wife is satisfied. That's their responsibility. It's their duty. Okay? You have to be open and honest with him, and you have to tell him, because I'm telling you, for all these years when women did not stand up and say, hey, you're not, they just took it, because a lot of women feel, I used to be one of those type of women who felt like, and this comes from my broken past, I felt like it wasn't for me to enjoy. It was for the pursuer. It was for him. It wasn't for me. And when I got into a situation with a man who made sure that he took that thing to another level, that was a wrap, child. That was a wrap. I was like, what? I can do this? Because I didn't think that it was something that I was supposed to, it wasn't for me. This is for them, they like them, It's your responsibility as a wife not to suffer in silence. And if you are the one that is not educated, or you're not, experienced, then it's up to you to read some books and to talk to your partner and say, hey, can we Or what do you think about this? Or do you like this? Or it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's not a taboo subject anymore. It shouldn't be a taboo subject in marriage, because when you're married, you're one. And if you can't open up and be honest and be free and be yourself with your spouse, then who can you be free with? Right? And every woman on the face of this earth deserves to have a pleasurable experience alongside of the gentleman that is calling himself pleasuring her, who is oftentimes pleasuring himself. So when I say in the title that I used to be a good wife, it's kind of a little play on words, but it's just to say to women that I had to take back control of my happiness. And I had to stop putting so much of it in his hands. I did a video where I talked about my husband doesn't make me happy. That's another video where people are like, oh, you shouldn't say that, because they did not watch the video and they didn't get to the part to where I say, because that's not even a husband's job, right? It's not his duty. It's not his responsibility. It's your job. And we're supposed to be, now this is the way things are supposed to go. We're supposed to be whole and happy before we even show up around here and sign papers and pick out rings and things like that. You're supposed to be whole and happy. That's not always the case, but that's the way that it's supposed to be, right? And I talked about how I got to this happy place in my life, but I still didn't have a great understanding of how just because I was going to get married to somebody, that meant that I had to put that now in his hands. That was the wrong thing for me to do. I tell women all the time, put yourself first. Put yourself first, right? Oftentimes we don't ask for what we need. We don't take care of ourselves. We let ourselves go. And that's all because we don't want to be seen as selfish. You never want to be labeled as a selfish wife. You never want to be labeled as, let me tell you something. This is what I had this conversation with a friend of mine about men liking bitches. Okay. Men like bitches, and they will lie all day long and say, no, we don't. I don't like, men love bitches. And what I mean by that is women, you see these women out here and you're like, oh my gosh, she's so high maintenance. And she is into this, and she doesn't cook, and she doesn't clean, and she doesn't. But somewhere this woman has a husband who is whining and dining her, and he's taking care of her every women fantasy. He takes care of her needs. He respects her. He makes sure that she can go to the spa on Wednesdays and Fridays, and he got the kids while she's doing it. And because she has said, hey, this is where I draw the line. She put all her stuff out on the table and she said, this is what I am. Take me or leave me. I don't cook. If a man has enough money and he loves you enough, well, he'll hire you a chef. So gone are the days where, like I said before, they used to tell you got to know how to cook and do it real good. Gone are those days. If he has enough money and you don't like to clean, well, he'll pay somebody to clean, right? Then when you look at the women who are cooking and cleaning and slaving and taking care of the kids and dropping them off and picking them up and taking his dry cleaning and sitting in the business meetings and manning this and cooking the food for the event and taking care of what needs to be taken care of at the church. And she hardly ever has time to fix herself up, and she always got a Aunt Jemima scarf wrapped around her head, and she doesn't wear makeup, and she's frumpy. And a lot of people say, man, look at her husband and look at her. And he is out with a bitch. Who respects herself, contrary to what y'all believe, and loves herself enough to have established limits and boundaries. And that's the way that thing goes. That's why I say, do good wives win? Well, we don't win when we don't put ourselves first. God, you, him, and them cheering. That's it. That's the way that goes. Why does that go like that? Because God is first. First and foremost, right? If you believe in God, God is first and foremost. Can't put no one above him, not yourself, not your spouse, not your children, no one. He's first. Then you. Because if you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of them. And you can't be there for them the way that you need to be there for them. That's where all this women die first in marriage talk comes from. Okay. You can't put them, you have to take care of you. And then him. You got to take care of him. You got to take care of him before you take care of the children, because the children are going to leave you. And when they leave you, well, you're going to be stuck with this dude. So at the end of the day, in my opinion, being a good wife is about making sure that you have established boundaries, communicating your needs. You have to communicate your needs to your spouse. However, you can get that through to him. Because some men, you cannot sit down and have a 45-minute conversation with them. They'll be gone in the mind in 2.5 minutes. And everything you say will sound like, well, want Charlie Brown. Maybe you can write him a letter. Maybe you can do it in sessions. But you have to communicate what you need. But first and foremost, you have to put yourself first, and you have to take care of yourself. And in my opinion, taking care of yourself, that includes personal self-care. That includes having an out, having hobbies and interests of your own. I know so many women who don't have hobbies, like they don't do anything outside of mommy and wifey stuff. I would go crazy if I didn't have anything in this world that I could do that required me to use my mind, be creative, get in the zone, be doing something that I absolutely 100% love to be doing. That is so important. It's important that you have things to do that make you you, and don't include the husband and the children if you're still raising children. Things that are only about you: line dancing, sewing, social clubs, girls' night out, good girls' night out, not wilding out, good girls' trips, not those wilding out girls' trips I've been seeing you on in Costa Rica. Wifey girls' trips. Someone told me, actually it was in a book I read about, wifing, because I was reading some books. I was like, I want to do this thing right. Married women shouldn't have a lot of single friends. No, I need single friends. My single friends keep me grounded. They keep me thankful. They keep me thankful that I ain't single. And they keep me entertained. There's nothing like sitting around talking to some single women, child. They keep you thoroughly entertained. You have to have married friends as well. But don't rule out your single friends just because you're now a married woman. I guarantee you will miss having them in your life, right? So at the end of the day, women, wives, we can have what we want as well. Until I see you again, be blessed, and bye for now.